Welcome to this special episode of Crypto Capsule Commentary, where I'm really going to focus on the impact of the recent arrest of the couple accused of laundering billions of dollars of the famous Bitfinex hack that happened a couple of years ago. I'll explain what happened, what's its immediate impact, and most importantly, what its potential impact could mean for the broader crypto ecosystem. Hope you're ready, because here we go. This episode is brought to you by Crypto.com, where you can buy Bitcoin and over 150 other cryptocurrencies with over 20 different fiat currencies. Get up to 8% cash back instantly using the Crypto.com Visa card, plus 100% rebates for Netflix, Spotify, and Amazon Prime subscriptions. Check out the link in the description to download the Crypto.com app and stake CRO to get $25 with the code Henri2022. So as you probably heard in the news, not only the crypto news, but the mainstream media news as well, the US law enforcement announced that they had arrested this couple that was actually accused of laundering some of the billions of dollars of the proceeds of the Bitfinex hack that happened 6 years ago. Also, the law enforcement seized $3.6 billion in crypto, which obviously is a gigantic amount of money, especially when it comes to the crypto ecosystem and this kind of activity. So make no mistake, it's a very important arrest for a couple of reasons. One of them, it shows that law enforcement is actually now very sophisticated when it comes to its traceability capabilities when it comes to crypto. You know, 5-6 years ago, many people thought, again, Bitcoin was untraceable or crypto assets were very difficult to trace. The technology that is available today, the traceability tools are available today, and with some of the increased competency of law enforcement when it comes to crypto, really, again, showcase how it's very difficult now for individuals to launder large amounts of money following crypto hacks like this one. I think the other thing I think it's important to understand is that really this arrest hopefully will put to rest the misconception many people have that, you know, crypto is not traceable, it's private, especially a Bitcoin. I think what happened with the arrest proved it once again. Yes, you can still launder small amounts of crypto, you know, a couple of $1,000 here and there and stay under the radar. But anytime you're trying to launder big amounts of money, especially following such a very public hack, it's become very, very difficult. The couple that was arrested, you know, I won't go into them in detail. Frankly, they have the persona, the personalities. The girl that was arrested was trying to make it on the side as a rapper. The personality of these two individuals were very interesting. I'm sure there'll be a Hollywood movie or a Netflix series on these two. But I think when you look at how they were doing the laundering, it was very, very sophisticated. I mean, they were using all of the traditional techniques of the money launderers use, you know, from waiting, seeing, layering the proceeds, trying to use different exchanges, having fake personas. For example, in some of the communication that law enforcement made public, the wife who was arrested was pretending that she was a tech entrepreneur who had invested in crypto very early on, who now wanted to liquidate big amounts of Bitcoin. In another interactions, she was mentioning that these crypto were gifts that her lovely fiancé had given to her in a very romantic way over the years, and now that are worth a lot of money. But you can see really they had this whole fake identities, opening accounts with different exchanges, and then layering the transactions and trying to actually make them more legitimate. One way they were trying to do this is actually even buying gift cards, you know, from various companies, from Hotel.com, Uber, to even PlayStation gift cards, and they're trying to use these to launder, including, by the way, they got also a lot of gold. Also, they made withdrawals from banks in cash, which really are not traceable. So again, it's very difficult. It's very unlikely we're ever going to be able to capture or seize that gold that they were using with that cash, because these are way more private than actually cryptocurrencies. Now, what does this really mean? Right? From a practical perspective, first of all, I think it does not answer the question of who did the hack. Yes, this couple was very sophisticated in the way they were doing their laundering. You know, they had burner phones. They were using multiple numbers, multiple personalities, multiple fake identities. But it's not clear whether this couple had also the capabilities to hack an exchange like Bitfinex. My personal view is no, I don't think it was them who hacked it, who hacked the exchange, but they're probably the ones who were looking at laundering a large sum of the proceeds. Let's not forget that according to some of the crypto firms out there, the traceability firms, around 20% of the crypto was already laundered. Some of the amount may already be out and will never be able to actually retrieve it. It's very interesting is how did law enforcement get their break? As you know, this couple was sitting on this money for some time. They were using one of the dark net markets, one of them called Alphabay, that was shut down by law enforcement in 2017. It's still not clear whether law enforcement got their break because of the seizure of Alphabay and some of the information they were able to get there, or by other means. You know, for example, some of the exchanges they were dealing with actually shut down their accounts. And in some of these cases, when you shut down an account, you have to make what we call a suspicious transaction reporting. And it's likely that potentially that's how they were able to get through to this couple. But also, the other big unknown is whether they were able to trace some of the privacy coins that this couple was using. If you look at the statements made by law enforcement, this couple was laundering using Bitcoin and Monero. Bitcoin is very traceable, but Monero is a privacy coin, which is pretty much impossible to trace. That being said, really about a year ago, law enforcement put some grants out there that for firms who were able to trace Monero. Actually, one of the traceability firms out there actually filed a patent where they claim they were able to trace Monero. Whether that they were able to trace Monero, if they were able to do it in this case, we don't know. But I think that's going to be one of the big unknowns when it comes to this case. Other thing I'm really looking at is hopefully this brings more attention on Hydra, which is one of the big darknet markets right now in Russia. Alphabay and before that Silk Road were shut down by US authorities. But you can see actually from the data from this case that a large part of the crypto was being laundered using Hydra, which is this darknet market in Russia. I presume it's very difficult for U.S. law enforcement to go after this darknet market. First of all, it's in Russia. You need collaboration, cooperation between law enforcement agencies, which is not always easy. But also, there's a lot of rumors out there in public domain that there's a lot of some kind of relationship between this darknet market and some of the authorities there as well. So it's a big unknown, but hopefully this brings more attention in some of the darknets market that are available today, including Hydra, which is very interesting, and a lot of large sums of money are still being laundered via such darknet markets. And maybe last but not least, I think I'm really watching closely what is the strategy prosecutors will use in this case. As we know, it's a couple that was arrested. You know, a couple of days later, it was mentioned that the wife was set on bail. But I think it'll be interesting what strategy law enforcement uses. Do they try to take one of the couple, either the husband and the wife, to collaborate against their partner in exchange of a more lenient sentence, for example? In this case, really, the evidence is very out there. I think it's going to be very difficult for this couple to prove that they were not involved in the scam with all the evidence that was confiscated. In particular, that they were hiding a lot of the Bitcoin addresses they were using and the private keys and their fake personas on a public cloud. This is public clouds in the US, whether it's AWS, Google, or all the ones that everybody uses. And I think that's a lot of the evidence that will be used against them as well. So very interesting to see. So definitely a big development. Obviously, still some unknowns of what's going to happen, especially what is also the government going to do with the $3.6 billion seized. Normally what they do with these assets, they auction them off. And believe it or not, there's often in the market a premium attached to coins that are being auctioned off by law enforcement. We refer to these as virgin coins. In the past, some of them actually commanded the premium from 5 to 15%. And the reason is very simple, is that if you're an institution, you're looking at buying Bitcoin. If you're buying it from law enforcement, although these assets were dirty in the past, they were used for laundering purposes, the fact that you're buying it now from law enforcement kind of cleans it up. And this is why it's often, there's a certain premium attached to it from some more traditional but large institutions are looking at buying it. Guys, hopefully this was a very useful update, and hopefully this was interesting from that perspective as well. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon for another episode of Crypto Capsule Commentary. See you soon.